available. So dumping, illegal dumping to me does fit my primary mandate, and keeping the public healthy and figuring out how we can work towards that is another thing we do. Finding operations or enforcement tactics that we can use to try to curtail what and we all know is directly linked to our health and safety. Right now, this is a photo of Mrs. Oko, a little bit of drywall. That's been dumped for years and years on one site there, and other items too, and it invites more stuff. But that drywall pile, that's just more of it. It's in a beautiful area of BC. A lot of people go up there. A lot of people travel that little road beside it, and they see that. Ooh, there it is. And the mountain's pretty high, and it's very large. And now nobody wants responsibility to go clean that stuff up. I guess in some forms, some people will say, it's a natural stuff. It's natural. It'll just erode away and wash itself into the soil. But there is toxins in this, the binding solutions that they use to put it all together. And a quantity like that is way too much. And I've got probably about 10 of those sites all over the place, and this is not even one of our worst sites. So as a conservation officer service, we have many facets that we work in, and today we're going to just work on that one portion, which is a large portion, and that is environmental protection. And how that links to my discussion with you guys today, tying it back to illegal dumping, and how we fit into that picture. We are responsible for it, the province. We work with also other agencies. We work with the RCMP. We work with the Ministry of Forest, Lands and Resource Operations. We work with, of course, federal fisheries. We have the powers as conservation officers in British Columbia to enforce all federal environmental pollution laws, related laws like the, whether it would be the Federal Fisheries Act, and the Environmental Protection Act under Environment Canada. So we do have the abilities to enforce these acts. We have been granted the authorities, but we like to work with our partners as we progress through these issues if it is jurisdictional. But there's no reason why we couldn't just go on our own also. And then we also have great staff that work in Surrey or Victoria at our major offices that are involved in the environmental protection portion and deal with solid waste, water. So we do have resources. We do have others that are not enforcement, but their jobs are there to support us and give us the right direction we need to follow. And of course we have at hand, we have the Crown, which can help us in court proceedings to prosecute. And I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. So, which part of the Act can I use to start working towards, where does illegal dumping fall, and how much clause do we have to get and apprehend it, and then when we do get a successful file, what we can use. There's a lot of wording here. I put that there to show you that there is a lot of wording involved in this, and there's more and more and more. But these sections here, Section 6 of the Environmental Management Act, the main portions here are 2, 3, and 4. And 2, 3, and 4 discuss basically 4 pollutants. If someone's dumping somewhere, a major company. In a lot of cases, this is what we employ for like big companies. If we're dealing with Shell or a big multinational company, we'll still use these same parts of the law on them. But they also work on the little guy. And now I'm going to say some of these dumpers are not the big fish out there in the environmental pollution end, if they, but these are, the little guy can still be used for these portions of the Act to be used on them. 4 is if the substance that was placed causes pollution and we can identified that it has actually caused pollution. Sometimes a little tough to say that little, that pile of garbage bags and sofa caused pollution. We would have to really do a huge job. And what's really important about determining pollution is what was the site like before. So we need to know the pristine site at 0, and then now it's at 5 on the pollution scale. We need to determine that. It's a tough one to do. So what we do then is back up onto 3 and 2. 2, I'll go up to 2, section 6.2. You don't need to memorize these. So section 2 talks directly to businesses. So business waste is a big thing. That drywalls, the 2x4s, the nail bags and stuff like that done by some contractor who was going home Friday and decided, I'm just dumping this stuff here, a few paint cans and everything, he falls under business waste because he's a business. He got paid to do what he's doing for those items that he chucked out. So that's business waste. 3 now falls under everybody. 6.3 doesn't matter what you throw out. If it could have been in a landfill, it should have been in a landfill. I can use that section on you. So it's above and beyond littering, chucking little things out. And it can be administered in many ways, which I'll talk about soon. I'll go to the next slide, and this is where I'm going to talk about littering. Hey, everybody likes to go shotgun shooting around here, I know. All over the place. It's like, there is fad around here that I don't understand, and it's called take a shotgun and go shoot anywhere I want to shoot and have a great time. It looks like so much fun, but just clean up after yourself. The thing I can't find here is it's not illegal. In a lot of parts, a lot of places here, it's okay. Go down to the Fraser, unless you start doing it in a very unsafe manner and you're all boozed up and you're just going at it, which we have found some of these issues. But in a controlled environment, no matter what the person looks like or who he is or where they come from, it's okay to get out and do a little shooting in Canada. We've allowed for that in BC on Crown land in a controlled environment. But you're not allowed to just keep your junk all over the floor. 1 shell, 2 shells, 3,000 shells. They all need to be picked up. The clays could be considered litter. But we're not going there with that right now. That's a bit too much. And I'm only talking about a specific thing right now, but I just wanted to talk about that photo. To me, it just shocks me how much red little things I'm finding everywhere. Shotgun shells, absolutely everywhere I go. But it brings me back to littering. It's a simple charge, right? Well, each one of those shells, if I were to sit and watch that guy or gal, there's a lot of ladies shooting these days, and I start counting all those shells coming out, and I'm writing them in my notebook. Oh, great, 200, and he gets in his car and leaves. Well, each one of those shells is a litter contravention. It's one piece of one action after another. It's not like a group of shells makes one litter. So, for example, a small bag out the side of the window or down at the campsite, or a, you see a lot of times people take their mulch out or their grass cuttings, and so it sounds like it's something organic anyways, but I've got sites that are so full of people's trimmings and cuttings that it's now absolutely terrible. There's also the other factor that you must think about when people are discarding garden waste is there's introduced species in there that could flourish again and then spread. And we know the devastation that that can have with certain species. For example, we've got a great species out here that everybody sees every day, and that's our blackberries. That's not a natural species. And it takes over, as we know. And it can choke out riparian areas. But it's been here for so long, I think we've agreed it's naturalized itself into this ecosystem. But that same epidemic can happen again. with a very hardy species, and that's what little bags of trimming can do. But and also it accumulates, gets to the point where it doesn't waste anymore. Another place where these type of organics tie in, which most people never think about, is that when you get an overloaded site, which I've seen, Bench Road, Gill, where it's mountains of organics, they dry, and they dry, and they dry, and they dry. And then all of a sudden you have a horrible fire here. And they're starting from these piles. Because in some instances, even hot wood chip and a grass mixture, at the center of it, the heat is building inside there. And if the right conditions are there, as we saw in Burns Lake, I think it was Burns Lake, or was it Prince George? Anyways, the mill, she went up, right? They weren't aerating it enough. So those situations can occur, but also mainly just a bit of lightning or a cigarette butt into these dry patches. You now have a concentrated fire hazard, a pollutant, and at the same time a litter problem. So why all this wording for littering? The most important thing here is basically anything discharged that could go to the dump or anything discharged, absolutely anything, by the definition. It's basically anything you put out your window. It could even be a banana peel. Well, we're not getting that. We're not going out that far, right? Unless millions of banana peels are falling out of a truckload, that'd be a different issue. So the other part of this is at the bottom here on littering, what falls under the section 12, which is occurring, is people taking their RVs out and opening up the latch on the sewage and letting it out. The gray water isn't so bad. So the stuff you washed your hands with and it's not bad unless you're there for 7 months and it's always pouring out constantly and now you've got a different issue. That is an issue. But the minor little pores, that's nothing. But when you start opening your sewage tanks and letting them out, that is definitely a contravention under the Environmental Management Act. I'll answer all questions after, sir. Thank you. So why I bring up the Environmental Management Act as opposed to the Motor Vehicle Act, littering on a highway, or other small acts that may cover a little bit of junk on, is because this has some real clause. I'll go to the next slide, I think. So 120, just a littering infraction in British Columbia under this act, which we enforce. The RCMP can also enforce too, but it's a little foreign to them because the RCMP have such a broad amount of acts that they can impose or work, but the RCMP stick to criminal issues. We take over from that. We also do criminal, but we can impose these, and we're very fluent. BC Conservation Officer Service is very fluent with these acts. So, a simple littering infraction, it can go to as far as $2,000 with some imprisonment, but no more than 6 months. That'd be like a chronic litterer would go to that type of charges. But it can be done. If this individual is constantly being charged and does not seem to have it in their mind to stop doing the littering, well, you could send them to court and have a judge decide on it. But why this one is good is the bottom line. I call it minor cases. It's $115 right now. Driver's license, there's your $115 for that little bit of littering that you did. And there's a reminder. And you're now in a system. Now, we can use this one, and where this one could be used, where I call minor would be a dude or a person out there dumps this whole pile of ashtray butts. That's a good one for that. Bunch of plastic and out the window and there it goes, or they're on the beach and their fire has all these cans and stuff all around it and they choose to leave it. That's the kind of situation.